everyone, and welcome back to another lesson. In the last lesson, we talked about the for in loop and we discussed how it's a special type of loop that can be used with objects to loop over object keys. And we saw an example of how that works when working with objects in JavaScript. And a very important part of it is when we try to use for loop in the context of working with objects. We saw that there was no response, there was no output that was given. And that is because of the fact that loop type have context. So when working with objects, the for in loop or for of loop is best suited for that type of situation compared to using that before or the while loop. So which makes it very important to understand the concept or the context of when a loop type should be employed in your code or in your program. So moving away from that, let's talk about the for of loop. The for of loop iterates over the values of iterable objects. Now the for of loop also iterates over the values of iterable objects. And these are some of the contexts where a for of loop becomes handy when it comes to looping over the values of such iterable objects. Now, a use context is when you are working with arrays, when you are working with string, when you are working with maps, when you are working with set and node list. So when you are working with any of these, you need to loop over the iterable object, or you need to loop over the element of this. A for of loop is very, very handy. Now, for every iteration, the value of the next property is assigned to the variable. Variable can be declared with const, let, or var. So, a for of loop requires a variable and an iterable. Now, for the variable can be declared with const, it can be declared with let, and it can be declared with var. But recommended would be the const and let, because at this point, I want to believe that you know the inconsistency that comes with using var as a variable declaration in JavaScript. Now, when using a variable for every iteration, the value of the next property is assigned to the variable. So each value of the property in your object will be assigned to the variable that has been set. And iterable, an object that has iterable properties. So when you use it over objects that has iterable properties, if the properties of an element cannot be iterated, then even for of loop would not work. So let's quickly take a look at an example of this in our code editor. So I'll pull up the code editor here and I will change this to for of loop. A for of loop gives each element value directly without needing to use an index. The for of loop gives each element value directly without needing to use an index. So let's just take a look at what that means in the example that I'm going to be showing below. So I wipe this so that I want to use an array, make use of an array in this example and make the array. So let me call the array fruit. And now that I have it, so it can be apple. Yes, it can be apple, right? Bananas, oranges, pineapple, watermelon, Okay. So now this is my array. Then I want to use the for of loop. So just like the way the for in loop was used. So for const, so which is the variable that it requires. Don't forget here that it says for every iteration, the value of the next property is assigned to the variable. Variable can be declared with const let or var. So I'm using const here. Const fruits of fruits. So the singular of what I have here as my array. So that is what I want to iterate over in this instance. So you can see the way the for of loop is being used. Const fruit of fruit, which is the off part of the iteration. Then I can say, okay, get me the output dot inner HTML. Or better still, okay, no, I don't want to use it this way. Sorry. Text. Yeah, so here I can have text plus fruits plus, then let me break this. And here I can have document dot get element by id demo one dot inner html equals to text. So now you can see that with the for of loop, it gives each element value directly without needing to use an index. You can see these are the element values directly. Apple, bananas, oranges, pineapple, watermelon, and pumpkin. So you can see the way it prints out the value from my array right here on the screen directly without using an index. So this is how the for of loop works. You can see for const fruit of part on whatever it is that you want to iterate over, and then it will give you the output just as you can see right here on my screen. So you can make another example. You can try with an object to see how it will work. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.